Did you know there's a World War II survival trick that could keep you warmer than a modern, high-tech sleeping bag? It sounds impossible, but it's true. This forgotten method, born out of desperation on the brutal Eastern Front, is a masterclass in survival science. Stick with me, because what I'm about to show you could literally save your life one day. And it's something most people have never heard of. Let's set the scene. It's the winter of 1941. German soldiers, part of Operation Barbarossa, are pushing deep into the Soviet Union. They were promised a swift victory, so their gear was designed for a summer campaign. But the Russian winter arrived with a vengeance. Temperatures plummeted to -40 degrees. Their standard issue wool blankets and greatcoats were completely useless against this level of cold. Frostbite, hypothermia. Soldiers were freezing to death in their sleep. It was a crisis of epic proportions. Meanwhile, their adversaries, the Soviet soldiers, seemed almost immune to the cold. How? They weren't superhuman. They were just using a simple yet ingenious piece of traditional knowledge that had been passed down for generations. While the Germans shivered, the Soviets slept relatively comfortably. This wasn't about having better technology. It was about having better technique. The secret was something called a bedroll, but not like the one you'd take camping. This was a specific multi-layered system designed to trap heat and block moisture. It was so effective that a soldier could sleep directly on the snow and ice and stay warm all night. Imagine that. So, how did they do it? The secret lies in three key principles: insulation, moisture control, and air trapping. Let's break down how to build this incredible winter shelter. First, you need a ground layer. This is your first line of defense against the frozen ground, which will suck the heat right out of your body. The Soviets used whatever they could find. Pine boughs were perfect. They'd lay down a thick mattress of them, at least a foot deep. This created a springy, insulated base that lifted them off the snow. No pine boughs? You could use dry leaves, grass, or even a pile of extra clothing. The key is creating a thick, dry barrier between you and the cold earth. Next comes the waterproof layer. This is absolutely crucial. Moisture is the enemy of warmth. If your insulation gets wet, it becomes useless. The Soviets often used a plashpalaka, which is a simple waterproof canvas poncho. They would lay this directly on top of the pine boughs. This prevented moisture from the melting snow beneath from seeping up into their bedding. A modern equivalent would be a simple tarp, an emergency blanket, or even a large, heavy-duty trash bag. Anything that stops water is what you need. Now for the magic part, the insulation layers. This is where the air-trapping genius comes in. Instead of just one thick blanket, they used multiple thin layers. They would start with their wool greatcoat, laying it flat on the waterproof sheet. Then, they'd add their regular wool blanket on top. Why multiple thin layers instead of one thick one? Because the air trapped between each layer acts as an incredibly effective insulator. It's the same principle behind double-paned windows. That trapped, unmoving air is what keeps the heat in. A modern sleeping bag does this, but this old method perfects it with what you have on hand. But they didn't just lie on top of these layers. This is the part everyone gets wrong. They would lie down on one half of the layered blankets, and then fold the other half over themselves. So now, they had the same number of insulating layers both underneath them and on top of them. This created a complete cocoon. Most of your body heat is lost to the ground, so having just as much insulation below you as above you is the game changer. This is the core secret of the system. Let's review the sandwich you've built from the ground up. First, a thick bed of natural debris like pine boughs. Second, a waterproof layer like a tarp. Third, your multiple insulating layers. Blankets, coats, whatever you have, laid out flat. You lie on one side of the blankets and fold the other side over you. You've now created a personal, human-sized pocket of warmth. But there's one more trick, a final touch that seals the deal. The opening. You don't want to just be open to the wind. They would arrange the top layers so that the opening was small and away from the wind. They'd often use their pack or some gear to partially block the entrance. They'd also pull the top layer over their head, leaving just a small hole to breathe through. This prevents precious body heat from escaping and stops cold air from getting in. Breathing into the main cocoon is a mistake, as your breath contains a lot of moisture that would dampen your insulation. By creating this little snorkel, you keep the inside of your bedroll dry and warm. Think about how brilliant this is. It uses simple physics and materials that were readily available. It wasn't about a single piece of fancy gear. It was about a system. A system that addresses the three main ways you lose heat: conduction to the ground, convection from the wind, and radiation from your body. The pine boughs stop conduction. The waterproof layer stops moisture. And the multiple folded-over layers of blankets stop convection and radiation by trapping air. So how does this compare to a modern sleeping bag? Well, a top-of-the-line, extreme cold weather sleeping bag is obviously fantastic. But it has weaknesses. If it gets wet, especially a down-filled one, its insulating properties plummet. And they can be incredibly expensive and bulky. The Soviet bedroll, on the other hand, can be constructed from basic items. A couple of wool blankets and a tarp, that's it. It's modular and adaptable. If one layer gets damp, you can dry it out while still using the others. It's a robust, field-expedient solution. In a true survival situation, where you might not have that perfect sleeping bag, knowing this technique is invaluable. You can recreate it with an emergency space blanket, a wool blanket from your car, and a pile of dry leaves. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a practical skill. It's the kind of knowledge that turns a potentially fatal night in the cold into a manageable, survivable experience. The German army eventually learned from their costly mistakes. They started issuing better winter clothing and even began copying some of the Soviet techniques. But for thousands of soldiers in that first brutal winter, this lack of basic knowledge was a death sentence. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most powerful tools aren't the ones you buy, but the ones you know. This principle of layering and creating a heat-trapping cocoon is timeless. It's used by indigenous peoples in cold climates all over the world. It's the core concept behind modern outdoor clothing systems. Base layer, mid-layer, outer shell. It all comes back to trapping air and managing moisture. What the Soviet soldiers perfected on the Eastern Front was the ultimate minimalist application of these universal laws of thermodynamics. So next time you're out in the cold, even just on a chilly camping trip, think about this. Are you insulated from the ground? Are your layers trapping air? Are you protected from wind and moisture? This forgotten piece of World War II history is more than just a trick. It's a fundamental lesson in how to stay alive when nature is trying its best to defeat you. It's a testament to human ingenuity in the face of extreme adversity. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this piece of hidden history as fascinating as I do, hit that like button. And subscribe to History's Hidden Tricks for more forgotten skills that just might save your life. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of this or if you have any of your own cold weather survival tips. Stay safe, and see you in the next video.